Welcome to Blockbuster Rejects episode number 8. This is the show that spends 10 to 15 minutes reviewing a movie you probably never ever heard of. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about a movie that came out of 2005, and that movie is Swarmed. So without further ado, let's look at the trailer.
In a small American town, it seemed like an ordinary day.
Hungry?
Yes.
But a few miles away at a high-tech research lab, an experiment has gone terribly wrong.
What happened?
Well, it looks like something stung him to death.
As the death toll increases,
Both samples show significantly higher than normal levels of toxicity. I think the reason is here in this lab.
they begin to discover these are not isolated attacks.
This is all a probable side effect of new pesticide we've been testing.
Now the town is in serious danger.
Daddy?
With no one on their side,
Are you willing to risk the lives of all these people? There's dozens, maybe hundreds of people here.
That's a little extreme, don't you think?
But sir,
Anything at all. Killer bees, health alerts, terrorist attacks. We cannot afford any bad publicity.
they must stop a force of nature
We need to get people off the streets, have them stay indoors, keep doors and windows closed tightly.
before it destroys thousands of innocent lives.
Get down now!
Imagination Worldwide presents
Oh my God.
Michael Shanks, Carol Alt.
Gotta get them all!
If you hear them coming, it's too late. Swarmed.
So we are talking about a movie called Swarmed, coming from 2005. This one's rated PG-13, has a runtime of an hour and 28 minutes, and comes in at a 4.0 out of 10 on IMDb. Now this stars Michael Shanks as Ken Horvath. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He is known, if anyone out there used to be a fan of the Stargate SG-1, you would know him as Dr. Daniel Jackson, if that makes any sense. Then we got Carol Alt as Christina Brown, Richard Chovello as Q, the character's name is just Q, and Jonathan Malin as Rafi. This has a bunch of other actors in it, but I'm not going to go through everyone. I'm just listing the big time actors. Well, in this case, the main actors. None of these people have really done much, basically only cheesy sci-fi flicks. And this is directed by Paul Ziller, who is very much the same, only really directed sci-fi flicks. So let's talk about the plot. Now I'm reading the plot off the back of the DVD box, and this is what it says. In the small town of Dundas, Indiana, genetic researcher Ken Horvath is working in his lab at night. He moves over to a glass case holding 8 very large yellow jacket wasps. He sprays them with a greenish solution and sets his timer. The wasps die in record time, but later that night, the dead yellow jackets begin to stir. A limb twitches, a body moves. 2 of them are all still alive and escape from the glass case. The halls are quiet, dark, and empty, except for one. Roy Pelter, the night janitor, hears the buzzing sound coming closer and is suddenly attacked. He falls to the ground, dead. Next day, the town's annual barbecue cook-off will be televised by Gourmet TV, bringing much-needed business and publicity. Meanwhile, Roy's body is taken to the morgue for an autopsy, when the coroner hears a strange buzzing sound coming from inside Roy's mouth. He opens his jaws, and a wasp flies out, attacking and killing him with 2 deaths. Christina, an entomologist, I guess, from the university, suspects that something is horribly wrong. As she takes blood samples from both dead bodies, she and Ken discover that the experimental pesticide causes a deadly mutation in the wasps. Now, they desperately have to find the single remaining wasp to stave off the destruction their town and far beyond. That was coming from the back of the DVD box, and that just basically tells you what happens at the start of the movie. And even then, it's not exactly right. That doesn't happen, really. But let's talk about it, okay? So I went into this movie not expecting that much. I mean, the DVD cover isn't much to look at, and you will probably see that as I've posted that on the Facebook page. But let's start with the opening scene. I mean, the first scene, we get CGI wasps that look to be from a PS1 game. Then we get a POV shot as the wasp is looking at the character, which just seems to be a fisheye lens with a gold yellowy filter over it. Now, ask yourself this. How many times have you watched a movie where it started with a science lab that is experimenting with an animal or a creature of some type and seen how they react? Then the lab is left empty for a cleaner to come do his thing, only to do something stupid and let said animal or creature escape, ultimately getting himself attacked and dying. It then happens to fade to black, and a new scene opens up with a nice quiet town with happy background music playing. If the answer is yes, I've seen that many times, then this is no different. This is basically what you're getting in this type of movie. It sounds right now that I'm shitting all over this movie, but I will tell you that it's not as bad as I expected. Yes, the opening scene is cliched and horrible, and yes, this movie is filled to the brim with stupid cliches and basically Jaws rip-offs, as the mayor won't do anything because he'll lose money. But this isn't all bad. For one, it kept my enjoyment. I was interested through the most part, even though I could basically predict what was going to happen next. You know, with these types of movies, you know who's going to live and who's going to survive, and you know basically when the bad person, or the greedy person in this case, is going to be killed off. The thing about this movie that kind of made me laugh is they don't call these insects wasps. No, instead they call them yellow jackets, and I've learnt now that that is a type of wasp. Now, I understand that a scientist would use that term to refer to them, but every single person in this town knows these these insects as yellow jackets and not wasps. So every time someone's killed, they usually die with their last remaining breath saying yellow jacket, and that just kind of took me out of the whole thing. Made me laugh, to be honest. This movie is filled with ridiculous dialogue. For example, the mayor's assistant kills a wasp with a shotgun blast, I may add, and then explains that she sent it to Kingdom Come, and she basically explains that she killed it in that dialogue and that exact way. This isn't all bad, but it's a sci-fi original product that's basically, you know what you're gonna get. It has some redeemable qualities to it, but nothing that's going to make you jump for joy and won't make you want to watch this again and again. So it basically sounds, for the most part, that I've been ripping on this movie and giving it shit. But I will tell you that it's not all that bad. Look, my review is I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. It's an average film at best, and really the only redeemable quality of this movie is it can give you some laughs every now and then. So, would I suggest going and checking it out? Probably not. But if you have it floating around on DVD, or if it's some streaming device that you know of, if you have a spare hour and a half, yeah, why not? Throw it on, it might give you a bit of a laugh. Well, that's it for this week on Blockbuster Rejects, but what are we doing next week? Well, I've picked out the next one on my DVD rack, and the movie is Scarred, from 2005, another 2005 film. Anyway, until next time, I am Tim. You'll hear me on Horror For Dummies, and if not, I guess you'll hear me on the next episode of Blockbuster Rejects. Goodbye.
It's that time again, all we do is win. Made a mistake, could've let them boys in. Tell me who's ready for the pig skin. Yellow and black, and we up on the attack. Rapid fire on the track, where my Clinton fans at. And you already know that these boys play to win. Whether on a road or in a yellow jacket stadium, my quarterback steps back, delivers with precision. This is our year, we're on a mission. Better go win the competition. It's going down, defense relentless. We knock them senses, run them back, gonna run them over. Nothing you do can prevent this on the winning team. And we play to the extreme. like nothing you've ever seen. So get ready to feel the sting. Y to the E, double L, O, W, J to the A, C, K, E, T, N. You know how we do. You gon' know they real, they hit their field and they gon' round and pound. That's another Clinton Yellow Jacket touchdown. C-L-I-N-T-O-N. No matter what's coming our way, we're ready to play. We're fight to the end. D-line, push 'em back. Red zone, keep 'em out. When that final whistle blows, you gon' know what we about. Don't get it twisted, we ain't fooled by all that misdirection. There's another pass deflection leading to an interception. O-line, knock 'em back. They ain't ready for the wide outs. Never know who's running what route. Get it with stride, take it to the house. Fans in the stands, they be hype on Friday night. They go hard for 4 quarters when they turn on the lights. We unite and never divided with only one goal in mind. Show 'em what it means to have that yellow jacket pride. Get 'em in the rhythm and never gonna get 'em, never getting 'em, momentum and never gonna win 'em. Time we can never be, never getting them, they didn't wanna know we didn't hit 'em. Got our eyes upon this prize, our eyes upon this team. Give all we got, never gonna stop.
Get ready to feel the steam.